Oh boy. Man of Steel. Man, I'm pumped for this one. I'm such a Superman fan. I mean, I've got posters above the bed. Just like think about Superman all the day long. Okay, here we go. Again. Oh, Krypton. Yes. Yes. That's right. Jarrell. Oh my God. Yes. Yes, that's right.
Be an outcast.
So put him in the rocket. Hope. Yes. Yes, hopes and dreams. Yes.
You're the answer, son.
Oh God, yes.
You're the answer to Are We Alone in the
Kevin
Universe?
Costner, yes. Oh God, Diane Lane. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. 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 Yes, do it. Do it. That's right. That's right. That's right. Kneel down. Kneel down. Put your fist on the ground. That's right. Oh, he's taking off. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. There it is. Yes, there it is. There it is. Woo! That's it. That's it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Oh, yeah. Do it. Go, go, go. 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 Yeah. 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 Oh. Oh. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Here it goes. Here we go. Yes. Oh, drums. Not the drums. No, drums. I love drums. Yes. Oh, I feel the drums. I feel the drums. I am Superman. I am Superman. And I can do anything.
So fast. Hi, Lo.
How'd you find us?
My freaky X-ray vision.
Let's get him, guys! Yeah!
Why is it? Why is this happening again? Why do I keep getting this on me? Come on. Come on. Come off. Come off. I want to come off. This never happened to Superman. Dopeness. Pure dopeness.
Welcome to Axis of Action. Today we're going to be discussing this year's reboot of the Superman franchise, Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder and written by Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer, with additional writing by Jonathan Nolan. This is one of the most recent superhero movies which has really divided a lot of audiences in particularly. There's sort of, it's split down the middle, and that some people love it, some people hate it, and a lot of people in the middle just very mad about it. So it's definitely a polarizing film, and we're here to discuss it. I'm Darkseid, and with me today is
12 Gauge the motherfucker.
Average Gamer.
Cave Johnson.
Kimmel.
Pandora.
And Pat Washak.
So, starting off, I guess we should just do, for those who have seen it, or just sort of like we'll go around and we'll say briefly, what were your expectations for it? Were you hyped for it? And we'll sort of like, what's your general opinion about the movie, and then
The
we'll
first
later on
impressions?
we'll go into more detail.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with 12 gauge.
Going into it, I was super hyped. Like, this was like my most anticipated movie of the year. And which is weird because I've never really been a big Superman fan. I didn't like the original movies. I'm okay with the comics, but I much prefer stuff like Batman. But for some reason, this movie really got my attention. And my thoughts on it were, I really liked it. It probably wasn't as good as I expected it to be. There were problems, I admit.
Like what? What
No,
caused you a problem?
I think we'll go into detail later.
Okay, sorry.
There were problems, but all other than that, it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it a lot, and I would like to see this movie franchise continue. That's my thoughts.
Average gamer.
I haven't watched the film, but
Okay, moving on.
Oh,
No,
wait.
go ahead.
Shut down! Oh!
Not in my house.
Do you want to be a farmer and hear a couple of acres?
Okay,
I
go
like
ahead,
it.
average gamer. I'm sorry.
But look at it. It's watching film. It was really strange because I really wasn't getting too hyped up for it because I think maybe what was going on was Superman Returns was such a disappointment. I mean, for overall disappointment to a lot of people. So I didn't get much excited. It's okay. It's kind of like, to me, Prove It, in the Prove It stage. And looking at it, Zack Snyder has done a pretty good job being faithful to comic books, the comic book stuff. Like, for example, the 300, it's very faithful to the graphic novel that I've heard. Watchmen, he's done some things I would argue that it has improved on the story. Some things, but I think it seems like if I watch it, I might like it.
Cave Johnson.
All right. Well, expectations probably too high. I would say. It was. I mean, when I first heard about the thing, it was kind of. I was less than enthusiastic, and definitely later I'll go into more detail of my thoughts about Watchmen, which you mentioned, average gamer, and just kind of Zack Snyder in general. Yeah, I was kind of skeptical initially, especially with the first teaser that they did, where it seemed very nondescript, and Superman's on a boat, and then he's like hitching a ride, and then he's flying, and
I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat.
And then I saw the new trailers, and as they kind of revealed more, I got more excited. I think the trailers are exceptionally well crafted, and whoever made them deserves every bit of money that they got for the job. But I think the movie itself, I think it's okay. Really, I think it's got some good things about it. Definitely some unique fight scenes that really wouldn't have been possible in the original Superman movies. I don't think they would have really wanted to go there as far as Superman Returns, but they were pretty good. And then apart from that, I think it's really flawed and generic in a lot of ways that I think people who are apologists for it, give a bit too much credit. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
I was not hyped for this movie, but I didn't go in there with a bad attitude. I just sort of went in like, oh, it may be good, it may be bad. I was sort of indifferent to it. And first of all, I think maybe I sort of had somewhat of a bad attitude because I thought it was a 2D showing, but then when we got in there, it actually turned out to be a 3D showing. So it's a little miffed about showing out an extra $15 to go see it, and I hate 3D, and the 3D did nothing for me. But that aside, I am very meh about the movie. It's a very solid meh. And I'll go into more detail on what I didn't like about it, where I thought that the movie kind of fell apart. It wasn't like horrible that I was just like I can't stand sitting in this theater watching it. It was just sort of like I didn't care going throughout the third act of the movie. And when my brother and I left the theater, we just didn't. We immediately just said, it wasn't very good, and we didn't talk about it on the way home. And it's a movie which I couldn't recommend to see. I couldn't recommend to someone to go see in the theater. It wasn't like stay away from this movie at all costs, but it was sort of like, if you're gonna see it, wait for it to be on television, because it's a waste of gas and money going to a theater to go see it. So that's my take on it. So, Jimmel.
First, the hype for it, I was like, okay, cool, new Superman movie, I'll see it, but I wasn't that excited for it, because like what Cave said, the first teaser I thought was kind of really ambiguous and didn't really tell you much. And then I saw the trailer that, introduced more of Zod, played by Michael Shannon, and had that part where, Superman put his hand on the snow and took off like a rocket. And that just got me super hyped, because the music kicks in. I'm like, yeah, this is looking like a good movie. And as for my final impressions, this is my favorite movie of the year. I have a feeling I'm going to be the most positive person on this panel. So, yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Well, I would say I was probably... my expectations were lowered. Like when I first saw the posters, before the trailers came out, I was like, oh, like that could be cool. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I was kind of touched a little bit with when he Superman Returns. I was like, well, we'll give it another shot. Not a problem. And I'm fully one of those people who does not have a problem listening to all the reviews and everything before going to see it myself. So listening to that, I was hearing a lot of with Nolan, obviously you get the comparison to Batman, and you get the highs and the lows. And yeah, I'll admit it did kind of tarnish my expectations, but I actually think that worked to the movie's advantage, because while I do think that there are several parts that are really not great, but overall I did enjoy it. I had a good time. I didn't mind seeing the theater, so I liked it. And there were some parts that I actually thought I really wouldn't like that actually did not bother me. So I'll give it a thumb up.
Patrick?
Well, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not really sure on what to say, so I can't tell you what happened. But one of my friends did tell me that they fell asleep in the intro of the movie. So my concern is if someone, like I said, I know everyone's different. If someone does fall asleep in the intro, that means that probably had a very slow build up to the fight scenes, or the peak, the epiphany of the whole, or not epiphany, the
climax.
I can't think of the climax. I can't think of the other term, but climax of the whole film. And the thing that worries me is if this is what happened in the film. So I'll find out after I hear you guys talk. If there was a very slow build up to the fight scenes and stuff, and the boss scenes and whatever, this is exactly what happened with the movie 300 when it came out in 2007. You watch the trailer and you see, this is Sparta, and you see this guy just hit this guy down the well, and you see all these fight scenes. You see this really tall Persian king, pretty much. You already know who the villain is, and you see the Spartans that are by the numbers or by the title it says 300. So you go, wow, there's gonna be a lot of fighting and stuff. You finally watch it. To me, the fight scenes were great, but they're too short. And I have a feeling that this is what it sounds like this movie was like. I'm not a very big Superman fanboy. So I'm not very familiar with the villains, except for Darkseid and Lex Luthor. That's about it. But I'm very open-minded, and I'll be very happy to listen to you guys talk about it.
I'm so glad you're a fan of mine, Patrick. It really means a lot to me.
I know. except his name is SCIDE. or SEID. Is that how you spell it? I can't remember.
It
I
doesn't
am many
matter.
things. I am many things, Patrick.
I
But
go-
here, I'm God.
I go by many different names.
Yeah.
One of my
I think
names
it's
is.
funny that you mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even know.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that one of my names is Louis Cypher.
But
That's a
looking
nod
at,
to That's a nod to Cave there.
Oh, sorry.
but looking. Okay, so what's the first thing that really struck you about this movie? When the thing, I think one of the things that happens with films is the visuals. But what struck you first about this film? Trailers, movies, and stuff. What was the thing that struck you first?
I think I went with the posters. The posters grabbed me first, even though I know it's simple, like with the giant S or symbol, whatever it is. That really kind of struck me more. Like it seemed like it was going to take it into a different tone than like the previous works. I don't want to say necessarily darker, but harder. It wasn't quite. Didn't reach emo levels, but it was a little bit more in depth than the previous works beforehand.
Okay. And now you're pointing right here at the poster and stuff like that. I think one of the first things that was talked about is the costume. What do you guys think of it? Was it, oh my gosh, not well, this is ugly, or this is interesting, or oh, this is really good?
Well, I didn't actually know. It wasn't until later that someone pointed out that they skipped the red underwear.
Yep, he remembered to wear his underwear on the inside.
And in context, if it helps, and the DC just had a reboot about a year or about 2 years ago, and what happened is one of the things that happened in the comics is that they did a revamp on a lot of the costumes. For example, Superman's red underwear, or the red part of his suit, is gone. And same thing happens with Batman's. So it's all gray pants instead of black top and gray pants. So I think they're trying to be faithful to what's going on in the DCU right now, even though it stinks. Sorry.
I like the costume.
Yeah, the costume's fine.
Costume's
Yeah,
fine.
I didn't really care. Yeah.
It took me a while to get used to the whole like skin tightness of it, but yeah, I like it on the overall.
Didn't take me that long at all.
That's Joe Schumacher's favorite words. Skin tight.
Get it? Because he's gay.
But looking at it, what do you guys think of the Origins? Did it bother you? Was it another Origins, or?
I think that it worked better with the Dark Knight trilogy, because if you watch the Batman movies and chronologically from when they came out, in the first Batman, you didn't see it. There was a hint, and then you finally got to see the flashback, and then the newspaper clipping about Bruce Wayne's death.
This is. I'm sorry. Is this Tim
Burton Batman? Yeah. And then in Batman Forever, we get another flashback, and Batman and Robin, we get a brief flashback and some discussion about it. And so we never learned about how Bruce Wayne really became Batman, like all the kind of backgrounds, because they just skipped all that. Because in the first Tim Burton movie, he was just Batman. He was already out there kicking the shit out of people. So Nolan did something new, in that he went back to the origins, which everyone knows, but he showed him training as a member of the League of Shadows, and then him, actually, I should actually reiterate, Mask of the Phantasm did show Bruce Wayne as the masked vigilante when he was just running around in a ski mask.
Yeah, his transformation.
Yeah. But the Nolan trilogy kind of they did something new with that with Bruce Wayne's background, and that period when he was with Ra's al Ghul, which had never been touched upon in the movies. Touched upon an animated series, obviously, because they had years and seasons of a show to do that. But with this movie, with Superman, everyone knows the origin, and it really did retread old ground. They did expand on some things, like if I'm comparing it to the previous because I haven't read the comics. I've seen a little bit of the animated series. I'm comparing it to the Christopher Reeve movies, and that we did get this section of the movie where Clark Kent is living in Smallville, and he's sort of an outsider, and he's talking with his parents, and he has all these powers, and he doesn't know how to deal with them. That's a very short section of the movie, and of course, him feeling bad about when his adoptive father dies. In this movie, they took that and really expanded upon it, which was good and bad at the same time. I can't really explain it. It was like, it was good.
No, I agree with you there.
It was good that they had it, but they went. It dragged too much. They went too far with it.
I can tell you.
Go ahead.
Well, I was getting, to me, like, what's wrong with the origin of Superman in Man of Steel. I'm not saying because we've already seen Richard Donner worship in Superman Returns, and it just doesn't work. Just like, okay, Donner's not here, let's just move on and do something different. But the Donner film, he was. We got that origin story. We did see him from Krypton to him being discovered on Earth, to him growing up, to him, going off on his own, figuring out his way, finding, something of his origin, and then becoming Superman. But what was changed, what they decided, they did virtually the same kind of stuff. They didn't do it in chronological order. That's one difference. But another thing, and what I think we were saying in terms of it being wrong, is, to me, they made Superman angsty. And I think he is the antithesis of an angsty character. He is not Batman. He is not a person who feels trauma all the time. Part of the thing that I think has been consistent about Superman's character from his inception forward is that he is a joyful character who delights in who he is. And I'm not saying he's just like happy-go-lucky all the time.
No, but he's optimistic and
he's optimistic.
Hopeful.
He's
yes. And every single moment Jonathan Kent is with Clark, he basically takes the time to shit all over him and tell him what a freak he is. That I can understand him growing up like completely, insecure about himself.
Yeah. What was I supposed
kind of upbringing.
Wait, what was I supposed? Wait, what was I supposed to do? The bus was sinking. Was I supposed to let them die? And then Kevin Costner goes. Wait, Kevin Costner goes. William Shatner, let them die.
He's like, maybe. I'm not even.
I don't know.
I threw my hands up in the theater. I was like, what? At that moment, I couldn't even.
I think that's less the character. I think they didn't include that. Kevin Costner was just like, maybe. It was like, okay, just go with it.
So save them, maybe. Dun,
Can we do another take of that, Kevin? And it's like 20 takes later, he's doing the same thing. They're like, okay, let's wrap this one.
Thinking about it, what was a shame is that they didn't take notes from Superman the animated series. I mean, they did a lot. I mean, for example, what's really, if I recall correctly, and if it's true, they created what Krypton looked like. I mean, no one in the comics industry really put much time and effort into what did Krypton look like. It's like, hey, he was from the planet Krypton, do, but they never, what did it look like, what it could look like, and stuff like that.
At least you can see the whites of his eyes, the whites of Superman's eyes in the movie compared to the comics.
In the cartoons you can, too. But
not really. You just see the black circles.
But there are some moments. But I mean, just what was bothersome is like thinking about when you guys are telling me. It's like, I probably might have walked out of the theater on that. It's like, nope, too angsty, and then nope. And it just. I mean, remember in the animated series. I mean, the point where they spent 2 full episodes exploring the birth. I would say the death of Krypton, or what Krypton looked like, the death of Krypton. What's got called Clark Kent, or Kal-El, and him going beyond Earth, getting used to that. I mean, they spent 2 full episodes doing that before he becomes Superman, and that's a lot of guts. And what was great about it was that during this time, he's like, he's freaking out because of what am I? You know, like he survives a truck exploding. He breaks through glass like nothing, like nobody's business. And his parents, you know, finally reveal the secret. It's like, you're an alien. But then they're there to help support him because he's freaking out. He's getting angry. But when he comes back, it's like everything's all right. They come back to him with open arms. It's like, that's Superman. I mean, that's what makes him. And if it makes sense, Batman, Superman, so have this tense friendship because these two come from two different angles on crime, justice, and family.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's kind of, you know, and in the sense, you know, I mean, Superman is, you know, through, you know, Kryptonian technology, basically able to, you know, to have conversations, you know, more or less. I mean, especially if we're going with movie canon here, you know, with his father, you know, he's able to, you know, to learn about the history of his people, you know, limited as it is, and there's a certain sense in which, like, it seems like the stories over the years that they've really gone out of their way to provide Superman with more family, you know, more and more, you know, he gets a cousin, he gets a dog, you know, all this kind of other stuff. Whereas Batman is always hit with loss, you know, like loss is his origin, you know, whereas Superman is sort of like he overcomes this kind of stuff. And, you know, I don't know.
I would say that him being, you know, all dark and emo and, you know, Batman is, you know, obviously that's kind of some of the complaints I've heard from the people who don't like it. That was actually one of the things I was really worried about the most. But I actually didn't think it was that bad. Like, I think it's like, okay, like, yeah, you'll expect him to have some turmoil in his teenager years, but I actually like that this movie actually touched upon, you know, like him being in the classroom, like, oh my god, like, I am seeing X-ray everything. I am hearing literally everything and everyone. And just that
was a great scene.
I can smell colors and hear and see sounds.
Exactly, but just that they make those small moves, like, that would be it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. So it's like those individual scenes I thought were absolutely fantastic. You know, like his adopted mother is being like, you know, just focus on my voice. Just, you know, calm down, focus on this. Like, that was actually a great thing. It would have been better. I mean, it didn't have to be strictly, like, chronologically. Like, I could see, like, maybe a flashback or two, but I found it really jolted me out of the, what is it? The mood, I guess, of the story, being like, okay, like, all right, like, we saw baby Superman, all right, he's gonna hit that field, so now we're gonna go see those parents pick him up, and oh my goodness, he is in the middle of an ocean, what is this? And he's an adult.
He's on the show Deadliest Catch now, for some reason.
And he is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I'm not gay, but that man is gorgeous.
Yeah, he's serious beefcake.
I would say Henry Cavill, I would say they actually chose very well for a reboot of Superman. And I like the fact that well, of course, I'm going to like the fact that they jacked him up. But but no, like I've seen, you know, some of the other Supermans are like, okay, like, but they tend to be skinny. But you see, like, in the comics and the images, you know, he's like, you know, he's super. You know, he's hulking, I guess.
Yeah.
Insert pelvic thrust.
Yeah.
And like Christian Bale before him, they found another Englander, another British guy to play a superhero.
Yeah. It was
I
funny.
remember that.
Christian Bale's got dual citizenship, so.
Yeah.
Well, on the bright side, though, at least with this Superman, they didn't have him do a gravelly voice. Where is he?
That's good.
And also you don't have Christian Bale doing, do I fuck with your lights? No, they don't fuck with my set.
Man, that's an old reference now.
Oh,
But it's a classic.
It is kind of old now. That's like, you know, it was from a movie that no one gave a shit about. No one gives a shit about Terminator Salvation anymore. I think that's the most endearing, the most thing that people think about that movie nowadays is that one rant. I just want to say briefly, because Cave Johnson mentioned about the dog. that Superman has a super dog in the comics. I have to
Crypto?
Yeah, crypto.
Yeah.
Crypto. I have to say that in the third act of the movie, the character I was most concerned about in terms of are they safe was the dog.
Crypto.
So
will
in the
live.
next movie, this dog needs to become Crypto.
Yeah. But think about it also, I have a question. So how does this film, can bring Zod and his army into this? How did all this majority of the Krypton and the
in the
Kryptonians come
world
over?
of Krypton in this movie, they started. Well, it was like 100 or more, many million years ago. They started doing like pre-selective test tube baby process, where it's only like from the best lines, and you're going to have a predestined idea. Like you're going to be a scientist, and you're going to be a warrior.
It's like an ant colony.
Brave New Krypton.
Yeah. But and it was with General Zod's case. I believe he was selected to be, of that warrior caste. Your special protection is to the Kryptonians in the best interests of Krypton.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. So they come to Earth to conquer?
Terraform the planet.
To
make it the new
terraform
Krypton.
Earth into a new Krypton.
Gotcha. It sounds like the dark side would do this.
That is actually a
in all
bit of a
serious, yeah.
plot hole that I have an issue with.
So
with the terraforming.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, part of the whole thing, like, obviously, with Krypton, like, it's dead, it's dying, whatever. Obviously, it's very unstable. Now, with the machines that they brought to obviously terraform these planets, and several times throughout the movie, they keep talking about, like, oh, well, these posts didn't last, or whatever. And it occurred to me, it's like, maybe the reason none of these posts are working is because you keep trying to remake Krypton, and Krypton is not exactly stable.
Define stable. I'm not being smart.
Well, I think the reason Krypton wasn't stable is because they were taking from the core for energy purposes.
Well, still, yeah, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, how do you expect a different result?
One word. Politicians. Boom.
Let's be careful of the politics here. Let's be careful.
I know. I'm just saying.
I know. I know. Let's just be careful. That's all. But okay, so they want to create a new Krypton.
Yeah.
And Zod still wants to murder Kal-El because
I will find him.
There was a little detail in there that they added. One thing is that Kal-El was actually I don't know if this is the same in the comics or not. I'm not terribly familiar with him, but he was actually a live birth. Unfortunately, I can't get into too many details because, funny story, I actually missed the first 10 minutes of the movie. Okay. So I did not get to see Russell Crowe summon his dragon creature, which kind of disappointed me. I really
it was pretty sweet.
Falcor!
So Zod wants to murder Kal-El because Superman. I'm going to say Superman. I'm sorry.
Well, at first he wanted to bring him under his ranks, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, how come?
Well, if there's two...
Because he was like, we're going to give birth to a new Krypton. You're one of us. Come join us.
I actually have one problem with Zod's plan about turning Earth into a new Krypton. One problem. Why couldn't he just do it with any other planet? Why not like Mars or Venus? Why Earth?
Thank you.
In his case, it was like, okay, this planet is here. Superman has already proved that even in these horrible conditions to them, this is sustainable. Okay, this is a world, and I understand why we would be like, there's like Mars right next door, dude. Go.
Think about it from a story perspective. Okay, let's say they did it on a different planet like Mars. Okay. Let's say they start building stuff, and we'll be like, okay, who gives a fuck? They're on Mars. There wouldn't be any conflict because it's on Earth where everybody lives. We can relate to it.
But
oh my God!
It's not Earth.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
But
the thing is that conflict is complete bullshit. There is absolutely no reason for it. It's completely forced.
Easy.
I'm I'm not against it. I'm just saying you have to think of it from a story perspective and Hollywood perspective. Because I mean, if they just built on some random ass
Which is
planet,
bullshit.
like
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
Yeah.
but hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out. This
Yeah.
could have actually been even better.
do.
If this could have been better like this, what would have been really neat was, and heck, if they wanted to, if they want to be smart about this, if they want really serious about this Justice League film, thinking about it. What if the Kryptonians started, like for example, based off of on Mars, and all of a sudden you see these other Kryptonians start heading to
I
Earth.
agree.
It's like
I agree.
what's going on here? It's like, why are you guys here? It's like, I thought I'm the last one. You're wrong. We're here on Mars. We're planning to colonize. You know, for example, because in the comics they do say the Kryptonians are jerks.
Yeah.
So that could be an interesting way
I
to branch off.
think-
And
I could also see another potential, issue with that. Obviously, like if they had regrown their population, on Mars, crypt Martians, whatever. If with the sun affecting them the way they do, or it does rather, why would they then not like, okay, we've now repopulated our species, what's next? Like, well, let's go to our next door neighbors, those weak little humans. They might make a good slave populace. Why not? So I could potentially see some other problems there.
and also I want to add on to what I was trying to say about the Justice League, being that the Green Martian, the Martian Manhunter, is on that planet. There's could be a neat way to might have referenced him into a sequel in the Superman films, and they could have slowly built a somewhat of a rough-looking Justice League into this universe, which would have been really cool because Superman is the guy establishes the Justice Leagues because he's the leader of all these superheroes. So it might have been a great potential. Thinking from what I'm hearing.
There cannot be a Justice League movie without the Question. It cannot exist.
Oops! The question. The only conspiracy theorist that everybody likes.
Good point.
Wow,
But-
I didn't know the Girl Scouts were connected to the crop circles. No one really does know. Only I.
Okay, so looking at it, I can see that seems like a flawed storyline. At the same time, okay, so what happens during the film? So how does these people fight? If, for example, I'm looking at it, if there's all these Kryptonians now, so they outnumber Superman, and they want to take over Earth. It seems like Superman could easily crush this. Could easily be crushed by this force because they outnumber him. And given you guys were kind enough to help explain it to me before the discussion how his powers work, they would be able to take down Superman. How does he gain the upper hand? If that makes sense.
He's Superman.
He punches harder, throws them farther.
Some small part of it is, I mean, I don't really want to say like, oh, it's the humans thing, because I mean, they provide little more than like a distraction, but it does potentially help. Another thing I think that Superman realized that actually tied back to some of his earlier flashbacks, which I liked, was that because of the atmosphere being so different and affecting them, the like Zod and the others had these breathable masks, I guess you would say. They look kind of like bubble helmets.
Scuba gear.
Yeah, pretty much. But that basically allowed them, through that they could breathe what they were used to. But the minute he damaged Zods in their little one-on-one fight, I don't know what the other two were doing at the time. And he's like, all of a sudden he hears everything, and he starts going through what Superman went through when he was a kid, and it's very detrimental to him. It's very painful. Why am I seeing everything? Why am I hearing everything? And it kind of belittles him. So those small moments also, those are kind of like the round one fights where he's like, okay, I was not expecting that.
Oh, gotcha. And real quick, bear with me. Being that this is an origin, what's the first scene of Superman? How do you find out the Superman, his action? Was there something really special, or they all of a sudden he's in his Superman costume?
Basically,
it takes a while for him to get in the costume.
Yeah,
It's like
it's like
That's a
almost
pretty
midway
slow
through the
build-up.
movie.
I can't remember the first time he used his powers. I think it was
It was at the bar when he was working at the bar, I think.
Yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
no, wait, the first part was the oil rig. What am I saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's. I mean, technically, that might be the first time we see it, but that's really not the first time he used it.
True.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was dealing with that back when he was, like I said, like a kid. And I think by that
Well, I
time,
mean, the
that was like
first
that.
time you see it
The
in the
ship was
film
like the
was the
last.
Easy,
oil rig.
guys. Easy. One at a time. One at a time.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Pandora was going first, and Jim
Yes.
L was saying something afterwards. What are you saying, Pandora?
I was just saying, like the oil rig is like the first one that we see, but for him, it's almost kind of like the last one of the last pit stops before heading back.
Oh,
But
oh, oh, was he heading in his costume, or was it just kind of like unknown?
no, he actually did not come across a costume until later on when he found the ship.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
question
big-
about that.
a
The Fortress of Solitude, pretty much.
I have a question about that. Now, in this movie, there is no Fortress of Solitude, from what I can gather.
There kind of is.
They infer it towards the end.
So basically, average gamers, that there's this. I guess it was a scout ship from thousands of years ago that lands in the North Pole, and Clark, using his heat vision, is able to burn through the ice to get into the ship, and he unleashes
Yes.
the thing, and then it takes over the outpost and it kills everyone. No, wait, that would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
that was kind of strange.
Actually, that would have been pretty awesome. I have to save the human race because I might have accidentally doomed it to extinction.
No, and by the way, Jim L. I'm sorry, Jim L.
Yeah.
You were saying something when Pandora was saying something. You wanted to add something?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I guess the first time chronologically that he uses his powers, I guess, would be the school bus accident. Is when he's the
Yeah.
youngest and you see him using his powers.
Gotcha.
But the first time in the film chronologically was the oil rig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this is kind of this harks back. I mean, I've written about this already, like volumes on the forum, so I'm not going to go into exact detail. But like really the first time that he uses his powers is when he uses his heat vision to burn the teacher who's trying to break into the closet where he's hiding.
Yeah.
And so every time, there's this real like guilt trip thing about him using his powers. That every time he wants to use his powers, there's a sense in which that it's wrong for him to be Kryptonian. It's wrong for him to be this alien on Earth. So
That's not Superman, and that's frustrating. I mean, I know I'm going back to. It seems like I'm a sucker for these animations, but from the '90s. But it's just like the Superman the animated series was just fantastic because they built this
Well, they were
great.
made by WB, so I understand.
But also, it had Bruce Timm and his awesome team. It wasn't just WB. They had Bruce Timm and his wonderful team. That's okay. We can do this, and they did a great job. I mean, it just was great with the origins of it. The animated series is that they tell it, and they keep it to a minimum. Then they add further to it by having him and Kal-El and his memories and stuff in later episodes with the Brainiac.
well,
But it was really epic though when you first see Superman, Lois is about to get crushed by this beam from the ceiling, and all of a sudden you hear this kind of like this light thump, and like it stops, and you look up, and all of a sudden you hear for the first time in the show, or in the show, not the opening, but in the show you hear the Superman theme going, and it's awesome. It's like he's Superman now. It's like this is great. And it's like I don't see any moments here where it's like this is really a Superman in this film. It seems like.
Well, in the movie, I think that the first moment you're talking about would be when he finally learns how to fly.
Yeah, that's yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we can actually talk about the introduction of Superman in these movies. Like you said, in the Superman the animated series and Man of Steel, I think. Yeah, there's the flying sequence, but I never, there never was this excitement. I never felt excitement in this movie. Like I saw, the famous scene in the first Superman, the one with Christopher Reeve, is the helicopter scene, and the way it's filmed, and with John Williams' music, it's so it's really uplifting, and it's really great, and it gets you excited. You're like, oh yeah, he's Superman now, and hey man, that's a fab outfit, or whatever that guy says. Damn man. Yes. Excuse me. I hope this doesn't put you off flying, as flying is statistically the safest way to travel. But with Man of Steel, it's just like, oh, okay, he's in the costume now. We're gonna get off the plot.